Okay, he thinks that you all have beautiful color hair
Well, thank you.
naturally. So keeping that in mind, without going to change it totally, maybe he would suggest something like a dark blue or a dark purple with not the whole color hair, but you know, like expressions of small parts, so that to keep up with the natural hair that you already have.
And I will take that advice. I will take that and I will go to a salon tomorrow.
Prenderà quel suggerimento e andrà domani a un parrucchiere per fare i capelli.
Io consiglio di farlo perché starà molto bene.
He advises you to go ahead with it because it will suit you well.
Voglio fare un esempio perché l'uomo è sempre più, diciamo, non molto, è un po' restio a colorare i capelli perché diciamo che è un qualcosa che riguarda più il femminile, ma io personalmente coloro i capelli ma nessuno se ne accorge perché lo faccio in un modo molto naturale, e questo grazie soprattutto alla bontà dei nostri colori.
Okay, he in fact would suggest for the men also to go ahead, because most of the time men don't think of hair color. It's mostly the women who it's like a trend to the women to color their hair. So he would say just go for it, and also he himself does color his hair, though you cannot say that because he does it keeping in his mind with the variety of products that they have, so that doesn't show a total difference of him when he colors his hair.
Do you hear that, fellow Sri Lankans? Go ahead, color your hair. Do what you gotta do. Anyway, since you're down here launching your product, how are you enjoying the country? Is this your first time in Sri Lanka before? How is the experience going on?
Visto che lei è qui per far lanciare anche il suo prodotto qui in Sri Lanka, è la prima volta come ha iniziato in Sri Lanka?
Io è la prima volta che arrivo qui in Sri Lanka e sono molto curioso non solo di toccare questo tipo di capelli, l'ho fatto altre volte con l'amica Nilanti, ho toccato i suoi capelli, ho colorato, però sono curioso di vedere la maggior parte dei capelli.
Yes, this is the first time and he's very curious to touch Sri Lankan type of hair which he hadn't had, but of course he has tried out with his friend Nilanti, but he likes to touch the Sri Lankan hair and see what he can do and feel for it.
E poi è importante sapere, questo è un consiglio, soprattutto un'esperienza vissuta. In ogni continente del mondo bisogna colorare con sistemi diversi.
And this is another thing that he would like to say is for experience that he had lived with, that is in each continent in the world, that each continent has a different method that they have to use to color the hair.
Okay, apart from hair, how does he enjoy Sri Lanka?
Inoltre colori, come lei divertirà in Sri Lanka?
Ma io sono soprattutto apprezzato per il modo in cui riesco a mettere i colori insieme, un'armonia tra di loro e che non guasta e che soprattutto valorizza l'espressione della modella, della cliente, il soggetto che in quel momento si affida a noi.
Okay, yes, he of course enjoys mixing the colors and see the result which comes with it, and the harmony that the colors combine with one another, and of course also then to see how it shows on the people, on the models who he will be able to work on it. So it's an experience that he's looking forward.
All right, great. I want to thank you guys, by the way, and everyone should keep a lookout for Regal Zero. Thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. Maybe let him know that.
Io vorrei solo concludere dicendo ai colleghi stilisti dello Sri Lanka che è arrivato il momento di toccare con mano la bontà dei prodotti BES. Vista la mia presenza qui, è un'opportunità di lavorare insieme e apprezzare questi prodotti.
He has a message for all the Sri Lankan hairstylists that to touch his products best and experience it, and since he's here in the country, maybe if they could see that if they can experience his products and see how it goes.
Oh, there you have it. You should take a listen and go and check out Samira Palmer's products. We'll be right back after this break on GMSL. welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. I'm your host Jason. In case you missed out on what happened before, we had Italian maestro Saverio Palmer, and he was speaking about his new product, which was a pretty awesome product called Regal Zero. And Banu has come back to enlighten us with himself. How are you doing, Banu?
I'm doing great. I think very good morning to you as well. I think we're doing a show for the first time. Very excited about it as well. And we've got a terrific personality just next to me as well. I'm about to introduce him, Jason. Here we go, all right. He is Mr. William Bickerdike, who is a regional manager of South Asia of the Cambridge International Examinations. A very good morning to you, William.
Good morning.
First of all, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
All right, Jason.
Well, first I want to ask you about Cambridge examinations, about the programs Cambridge offers, and the qualifications. Is it like it's really popular here in Sri Lanka? Why do you think that?
Well, I think the simple answer is that Cambridge programs prepare learners very effectively for university and also for employment. So when they leave school with their Cambridge qualifications, they've got a really deep and sound knowledge of their subjects, and they're welcomed by universities. Also, the actual certificates that they have, the Cambridge certificates, are internationally recognized by some of the world's most famous universities and many, many others. So that is a really useful piece of paper which opens doors to higher education and beyond. Looking at it from a school's perspective, we offer 4 programs. So we start with Cambridge Primary. That moves on to Cambridge Secondary 1 and Cambridge Secondary 2. And finally we have Cambridge Advanced, where the A-levels are.
Yes.
And there's a lot of flexibility for schools. They can offer all 4 programs, and we do have schools in Sri Lanka offering all 4, or they may just offer 2. So there's flexibility. But schools which are offering 4 programs see real development of skills in a very progressive way, starting with primary and going through to advanced. And finally, I think they're fun to teach. I think that teachers really enjoy using Cambridge syllabuses. We provide lots of support. And I think it's a good experience for both teachers and learners.
Elaborating on the support element that you were talking about and the fact that it's internationally recognized, could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, taking the second point first, the international recognition, I think that's partly to do with the fact that we are now the world's largest provider of international qualifications for this age group, 5 to 19-year-olds. But also we're the only international awarding body which is part of a university. And it's not just any university, it's the University of Cambridge, which is now more than 800 years old. So it's a very well-known institution, famous for its educational research and development. And our part of it, which is the Cambridge Assessment Group, has been working in the field of education, conducting research into assessments for over 150 years. So I think that's all to do with international recognition. And coming back to your first question, which is about support, we provide a huge amount of support for teachers. When a school registers with Cambridge, we provide them access to a teacher support site, for example, where teachers can find not just the syllabuses but also very detailed schemes of work. These provide teachers with lots of ideas for activities, for the actual delivery of classes. They recommend resources, the amount of time that should be spent on particular topics, for example. And the story goes on. It's not just that. We provide booklets which contain examples of candidate responses. The resources which teachers use in class with their learners are from very well-known publishing companies, and there's a wide range and a wide choice of materials available. We also offer a lot of events to support teachers. So we run workshops, face-to-face workshops. We also provide online courses. We're now making great use of web technology, so we can actually increase the amount of face-to-face interaction without having to bring teachers and trainers into the same room together. So any teacher who's got an internet-enabled computer can actually have a face-to-face experience over the web and receive a workshop in that way.
Are there like modern methods prescribed to the Cambridge syllabus?
Well, yes, I would say that we encourage teachers to be very innovative and to be very creative in their teaching, and we support that also by providing professional qualifications for teachers. So we have institutions here in Sri Lanka which offer the Cambridge Diploma for teachers and trainers, which really encourages teachers to look carefully at planning their lessons, the delivery of lessons themselves, how to make their lessons engaging and interesting for their learners. It also looks at issues such as assessment and evaluation. So there's lots of support for teachers to encourage them to be innovative and creative. And we have other events too, if I can just add something about an event that we're holding today, which is for principals of Cambridge schools and their vice principals. We've got an expert who's come over to deliver this event. He will be looking at 21st century skills and leadership in schools. We have another one next week, which is going to be delivered by a member of the Faculty of Education at the University of Cambridge. He's arriving in Sri Lanka, and this will be for teachers of mathematics, whether they be primary teachers or secondary teachers or maybe A-level teachers. And it really looks at the pedagogy of mathematics teaching, how to encourage the development of higher order thinking skills in mathematics classes, how to take learners up to a slightly higher level of thinking mathematically. So that's going to be a full day event, free of charge, here in Colombo, face to face. And we've got a full house actually. We've had to unfortunately turn a few people away.
Okay. All right, so moving away from the teacher's perspective of the Cambridge syllabus and going to the student's perspective, what are the advantages that you could actually get by using the Cambridge syllabus?
Well, if you look at it in terms of product and process, I think the product is the certificate which I mentioned. So this is internationally recognized. This is a passport, if you like, if the grades are good, to universities all over the world. So that is a huge advantage. It is a well-known qualification which is really welcomed by universities worldwide. But if you think about the process of students who are on their way to achieving that certificate, we work closely with schools to develop Cambridge learners with certain attributes. These attributes would be the attribute of being responsible for your own learning, for example. We encourage students to take responsibility for their own learning how to learn, which is a very important aspect of being in the classroom, acknowledging that the learner is as important in this process as the teacher. And this is an attribute which later becomes even more important when you're at university, because a lot of responsibility is on the shoulders of university students to get through their university programs successfully, with less guidance from teachers, less than you would find in schools. Another attribute, for example, would be that of a reflective learner. So we work with schools, and this is explicit in our syllabuses. We work to make Cambridge learners reflective about the programs in which they are engaged.
Well, we actually learned quite a lot on that. We are going to take a commercial break now, but we'll be back on Good Morning Sri Lanka, a short breather, and we'll talk more.